7 Japanese high school students, who are prodigies in their fields, survive a plane crash, only to find themselves in another world with magic. We're a race of humans with animal-like features, called Buma's life. Alongside humans, Winona Abuma and her elf daughter Lyrule rescue and treat the prodigies. Elm villagers learn of the legend of 7 heroes from another world who saved the continent from an evil dragon. Tsukasa instructs his friends to learn more about the Frejigurd Empire and its culture so they can find a way back home and help improve the welfare of Elm Village. As a way to repay him, they scare the soldiers of a local feudal lord into leaving the villagers alone and not reporting the incident to their lord. While they help in their own way, the prodigies keep on going. Besato and Eltz run into problems getting money and supplies for Elm Village when they discover the New Zealand Company has a monopoly on commerce in Dormant. Tinabu uses her skills to dig up scandalous information on the mayor of Dormant, allowing Masato to obtain a permit to trade under the name Elm Trading Company. To compete with New Chillin, Masato and Elch visit local merchants and offer to help them sell their goods in Dormant through a consignment shop. To support Elm Village, Masato's shop sells everything from rugs to homemade mayonnaise. When the Sea Serpent Maritime Merchant Company starts trading with Masato, Nuchilin decides to take the threat seriously, opening a rival store to undercut Elm's prices and drive them out of business, foreshadowing his plan to permanently destroy Nuchilin. Masato shows Elk several Boomer outside as a result of the merchants boycotting Nuchilin and instead signing a contract with Masato to supply Elm Trading Company. The head of New Zealand Company admits defeat and makes a deal with Masato over trading rights in Findorf. Slave traders try to recapture Rue, but Masato buys her freedom after she promises to become a great merchant to free her parents. A giant bear attacks the village, killing Winona's father, village chief Olga, and causing Kane to heal Olga's wounds. Meanwhile, Masato and his friends return to Elm Village, only to be arrested by Marquis Findolf's soldiers, led by his knight Inzaghi. Inzaghi falsely accuses the villagers of treason, claiming that having gold coins is a crime against the nobility, despite Inzaghi's punishment of having the villagers burned inside their homes. Akatsuki manages to free the villagers before Tsukasa and the others arrive. When Marquis Fignet tries to kiss Lyrule, she is protected by a mysterious magic, departing from the Elm villagers to save Hyrule and start a revolution to overthrow the Frejigurd Empire and turn it into a modern, democratic nation with equal rights for all. The prodigies and Elm villagers easily storm Findolf's castle and fight his soldiers, while Shinobu and Tsukasa sneak in to rescue Hyrule. Tsukasa enters Findolf's room, but is shot by Findolf's flintlock pistol. Tsukasa, however, escapes unharmed thanks to his bulletproof suit and pulls out his own handgun. In fact, the prodigy's actions and ideals have made them enemies of the Empire, and they will not stop until the revolution is complete. Later, a mysterious being uses Hyrule's body to tell Tsukasa and the prodigies to save the continent. When Tsukasa plans to form an independent nation, as everyone celebrates saving Hyrule and defeating Findolf's army, the prodigies found a religion called the Seven Light Faith, with Akatsuki serving as God and the rest of the prodigies serving as his angels, in order to easily convince the populace to accept them and their new nation. They are able to convince the people of Dormant to switch allegiance from the Empire to the Seven Light Faith by using Akatsuki's magic tricks and free gift of mayonnaise. Tsukasa later strikes a deal with Dormant's mayor, Walter von Hazred, to have the city peacefully defect to the Seven Light Faith while maintaining his position, and talks with Zestu Bernard, the former captain of the Dormant Watch, about becoming the leader of the newly formed Seven Light Knight Order. After convincing Bernard that his daughter's future in their new nation is worth fighting the Empire for, meanwhile, Shinobu and Eltz travel to Butchworld, where they learn that the Empire has dispatched an army to reclaim Findorf from the prodigies, led by Duke Oslo. El Gustav, a war hero and infamous control freak. Gustav kills Inzogi at his castle for fleeing rather than fighting the rebels, and vows to burn them to casas. Ministers and friends are concerned that he is working too hard as he implements his political reforms and modernizes the people's livelihoods, with the empire preparing to attack Findorf in the spring. Tsukasa modernizes the 7 army lights by commissioning Ringo to construct a power plant and a factory for mass-producing guns in preparation for the impending invasion. Liro believes Tsukasa despises her due to his refusal to accept her attempt to repay him for saving her, but Masato assures her that Tsukasa is keeping his distance due to his guilt for initially telling the Elm villagers not to rescue her from Marquis F. Findorf. Later that night, Liro confronts Tsukasa in his office, revealing that he used to admire his father, the previous Japanese Prime Minister, until he discovered how corrupt he was. With the assistance of his friends, he exposed his father's corruption, which resulted in his arrest and subsequent execution. But it harmed his relationship with his mother, who loved her husband and never forgave Tsukasa. Tsukasa has since dedicated himself to becoming a selfless politician, or the people, which saddens Hyrule, who assures him that she will always love him elsewhere. Rue struggles with multiplication, but eventually succeeds with the assistance of the other prodigies. Meanwhile, Shinobu and Elch uncover a village's dark secret. Shinobu and Elch stay at Amarata and Melinda's Inn in Kokonono, Gustavi's lands. Shinobu becomes suspicious when she notices the villagers are not eating the food they serve despite being hungry, and she and Elch soon discover Kokonono's dark secret. The villagers have been secretly drugging travelers before killing and eating them. After learning that Melinda tried to warn Shinobu and Elch to leave the village, Shinobu gives herself up to their leader, Silver Knight Jean de LeBlanc. In response, Imarata apologizes and explains that when Duke Gustav took over their land, he forced the villagers to turn Kokonono into a beautiful town using their own money, and ordered them to always keep clean, meaning they could no longer farm for food or earn money. His rigid rules forced the villagers into cannibalism to survive, which many of them regret. Meanwhile, Jean frees Shinobu and asks for her help from the Azure Brigade, which opposes Duke Gustav's tyranny. Angry that his army has yet to attack the rebels at Findorf, Duke Gustav decides to use his magic spear, Heaven's Flames, to destroy Dormant. To stop the spear from hitting Dormant, Tsukasa and Ringo use the many anti-aircraft missiles, and Findorf, the spear pierces Dormant's noble district, sparking a fire, prompting Mayor Walter to order a civilian evacuation in accordance with Tsukasa's emergency manual. Despite successfully evacuating the populace and containing the fire, Duke Gustavi summons fire spirits from his spear to murder the residents of Dormant and further spread the fire. Liril informs the prodigies that the entity that possessed her has instructed her to destroy the spear in order to prevent Heaven's Flames from spreading. AI volunteers to escort and protect the missile from Gustav's fire spirits in order for it to destroy the spear. Using Ringo's final missile, the missile destroys the spear and puts an end to the Heaven's Flames, which Duke Gustav senses and vows to exact revenge on the rebels. As the prodigies assist the people of Dormant, Lyra reveals that the being who possessed her also bestowed upon her knowledge of magic and the ability to communicate with spirits, and thus she wishes to learn how to use magic to aid Tsukasa. Orders a surprise attack on Duke Gustav's army, led by Zist, and 50 soldiers armed with winter gear and semi-automatic rifles. Based on information from Shinobu, Gustav directs Marquis Arcglide and Marquis Butchworld, along with their forces, to invade Findorf immediately. Despite their protests that attacking unprepared in the winter is a terrible idea, Arcglide and Buchwald's forces are forced to retreat after being driven back by Zest forces using semi-automatic rifles and grenades, and both Marquis eventually surrender to the Seven Light Faith. Simultaneously, the Azure Brigade assaults Duke Gustav and his men in their castle. Jean and Shinobu confront Gustav and command him to surrender, but he refuses, resulting in a fight. They eventually defeat Gustavi, but not before the Duke uses his magic to blow himself up, ostensibly killing himself. following the 7 Light Fates and Azure Brigade's takeover of Gustavi's lands and restoration of order, the prodigies convene to discuss whether the Azure Brigade can be trusted and become allies. Tsukasa concludes that the Azure Brigade, especially their new leader, Count Conrad, is hiding something from the prodigies. Kane tells Tsukasa and Ringo to take a break before their overworked schedules cause them to collapse. They agree, and Tsukasa invites Ringo on a date to a popular restaurant, but AI and Kane's experiences in skills and not in romance. Shinobu's best advice is to hold hands and indirect kisses. In a series, they begin their tour of the town, forced to disguise themselves to avoid the commoner's gaze. Ringo's plan to hold hands with Tsukasa is foiled when they arrive at the restaurant. She faints in embarrassment when she switches drinks with Tsukasa to share an indirect kiss. She dreams about her mother, who was artificially inseminated to create a prodigy child. When Ringo began winning awards for her genius at such a young age, her mother abandoned her. She was left with nothing until Tsukasa showed up at her school one day and kept giving her broken objects to fix. This made her happy and made her fall in love with him. She wakes up on Tsukasa's lap, thanking him for bringing her here. Tsukasa admires the town's seaport before assigning Ringo an important task. Shinobu learns that Conrad intends to have the Azure Brigade rejoin the Freyjaguard Empire, as Tsukasa predicted, while Ringo's latest project causes a penicillin shortage. A septicemia epidemic has spread among the commoners. To allow his guild to sell opium to the sick, Count Sorrentius demanded Kane's permission. She instead makes a deal with Sorrentius. If she can't cure the sick with coal, she'll let him sell opium with Lai. Rules magic and Kane's chemistry knowledge. They transform the coal into sulfonamide, enough to cure all the patients. Kane stops Count Sorrentius and his men from poisoning the sulfonamide and destroying the 7 Light Faith's reputation. Ringo finishes her latest project, an ICBM. General Nero allows Conrad and the Azure Brigade to rejoin the Empire, but wants them to destroy the 7 Light Faith, whose ideas of equality go against the Empire's survival of the fit mantra. On the other hand, Conrad's knight Razenak and his men attempt to kill Jean, but she is saved by Shinobu, who kills them all after Jean learns he killed her mentor and former Azure Brigade leader, Count Blumart. Shinobu assures Jean that 7 Light Faith will help achieve her mentor's original goals of improving the welfare of the people. Conrad returns with Tanganyika, whom Shinobu recognizes. Hanganika, disguised as Gustav, kills Conrad for destroying his golden statue. He then attacks Jean and Shinobi, who were hiding in the same room. They flee, but Gustavi destroys the castle, killing every guard. Gustavi is blown up by Ringo's new ballistic missile. As he marvels at his new abilities, the blast is seen from Dormant, where the prodigies are considering using the weapon. Ringo consoles Tsukasa, who fears he will be despised for negotiating diplomacy with the other nations. The next day, the prodigies address their citizens, with Tsukasa revealing that they are now one nation, the Elm Republic, and must defend themselves as such. During his speech, Gustav transforms into a demon and attacks the prodigy. AI and Shinobu try to kill him, but are repelled by the mysterious gem protruding from Gustav's chest. Gustav leaps towards Tsukasa, who pulls out a gun and shoots the demon. Gustav warns Tsukasa of the challenges ahead and brags that the prodigies will never triumph. While a Yamato Empire trio watches the events in Dormant, General Noro suggests the 7 Light Faith may be a hindrance. Tsukasa, feeling inferior to the other prodigies, ponders Gustav's warning. The next day, the other prodigies, who have invented a biodegradable mayonnaise container, greet him, as do the townspeople.